Good morning, my name is Djokovic and I'm so happy to be talking to you. Come to the Why Not Show, where we believe that if others can, you also can. I told you I'll be bringing you information that is very informative for all business people and all people that are into entrepreneurship. You want to set up something, you're doing something, I am always here for you to give you the very best information. Now, I want to share with you something that I learned from a workshop or a training that we had of boosting our businesses and also networking, because your network is your net worth. So this was proudly sponsored by Fermoy Forum and also the local enterprise office of North Cork and West. Feel free to leave a comment on anything that you thought touched you most.
And people who've been benefits of his counsel and advice and everything. So I'm looking forward to listening to your reputation certainly goes before you.
A lot of pressure. I'm just going to keep a little stopwatch running here beside me, just so we can keep an eye on the time, because we're trying to be here this morning. Before I even do the introduction, I suppose one of the things that I was conscious of in coming here today is there's a lot of doom and gloom. I was talking to a man from Limerick yesterday who was saying to me that they actually don't, they have a conscious decision, they have no television at home, it's just not their thing. But he's now saying, I wish I could get rid of the radio and I didn't put it on, because of course there's a lot of hyping. There is bad news out there and there is some difficult news, but it's not all bad. And there is a danger that you can get sucked into all of that. And I suppose what we're presenting this morning here is in that context of saying, look, sometimes you've got to fight to stay out of that space and keep the head clear, because these are really the times where you have to be focused yourself. So there's a couple of different sections in this. I'm originally from Bantry, so any excuse to be here. I live in Dublin, and any excuse to be in Cork is always a great thing as part of that. My earlier career started in the local super value in Bantry at 13 or 14, when you could work at that age. Enjoyed it, and went on and did a retail management course in what is now TU Dublin in DIT. And started in, I think it was 83, 84 with Fermoy in Superquin, and spent 20 years there, 20 great years, and it was a great school of learning. 10 years at the operational side of that business, and the latter 10 years on the board of the company. It was, you were nearly bred to be an entrepreneur, even though it was a company. You were given that freedom, and what you saw, God rest him now, but what you saw with Fergal was what you got. That energy and that enthusiasm. In the middle of all of that, I was fortunate enough to do an MBA in retailing and wholesaling. That's fine, but you have to be able to combine the practical with it. The more recent 17 years, I sound like for more years than I care to remember at this stage, but the more recent 17 years have involved my own business, and there's two areas largely we work in, which is food and food manufacturing, and then retail, which tends to cover the cafes, the restaurants, the retailers, etc. But in fact, that encompassed into all of that are all sorts of different type of businesses. So hopefully we can touch, and we're fortunate in that we have all sorts of interesting clients and diverse clients as part of that. We'll try and bring some of that now. That pressure, and sometimes it feels a bit like that. You lift the shutter at 8 in the morning, but if you're not getting that magic 40-45 minutes a week, the business will go into autopilot. The business has no other choice, because you won't get the time to intervene and change direction. So that's the third of our one. And if you have a couple of staff in the business, so many businesses over the last year I've seen having success with this, which is within their team, they're nominating a champion or an owner for a particular area. I remember being in a jewellery business, and it was high end, and it was engagement rings was a big part of the business. So you were talking about thousands of a transaction, and the job was of the dozen or so staff that were there was to work out the sales process, because they found there was an imbalance in the team that were doing it. And jokingly I said at the beginning, well, it wasn't jokingly, I said it for a reason, but I said, who's the best? And they all pointed to Mary at the end, and that'll be relevant in a second. So as we said, I said, well, what happens when the couple arrive? And I said, well, we bring them in and we welcome them, and we have a room upstairs and we'll offer them Prosecco or water or whatever they'd like. And then we gauge the budget and we go down and we bring up a tray of rings. And at which point one of the staff said, and we put that tray on the table. And at which point, very gently, because she was among her colleagues, but Mary piped up and said, I wouldn't do that. It will cause chaos because you'll give them too much choice and you'll never get a decision. And right throughout from that moment on, Mary kept gently intervening to say, here's a tip, here's an idea. It was very obvious that Mary, over the years, had perfected a way of selling engagement rings. The others all had a bit of it, but nobody had all of it. And that, to me, was a huge learning to say there is a way to sell everything, and you can't assume that your team know that. And if you have a Mary, sometimes that champion actually can lead the others. And sometimes they listen to each other quicker, but you've got to give it the structure. Lovely footnote to Mary. She had this lovely phrase, if she detected at the end there was tension. He clearly didn't want to part with the money, she clearly loved this particular ring. She would lean towards the girl and say, listen, I won't put that back in the window until 2 o'clock. Go off and have the coffee. In other words, if you don't persuade her, it'll be gone. So, lovely story. And in some businesses you do, and in some you don't. And this board, there was the roster was there was some COVID information, but there were targets. This is what we did yesterday, last week, and this is what we have to do this week. And there was a lot of good information. You were certainly getting a message as a staff member, a team member. I have a role to play here, and we're succeeding or not. I can remember doing a retail program here probably 6 or 7 years ago, and the big concern at the time was proximity to Cork City. And that worry that it was so easy for people to hop on a car and down to the tunnel and they were there. The big asset that you have over the bigger guys is your ability to immerse into the community, to understand the customer, to understand the community, to network. The big retailers simply cannot do that and are not interested in doing it. Play that to your advantage. Understanding the consumer, everybody says, oh sure, of course, don't we talk to them every day, you understand it, but here's a lovely story. Pharmacy business, the background was the son who was now 28 or 29 was taking over the business from the parents who were there as well. So as part of walking in the front of the pharmacy, I passed a comment to say, there doesn't appear to be much value. And he said, oh no, there is. And then he took me around and there was these tiny little signs in the front of things, and some of them were red, which meant there was some offer. And if you had a magnifying glass, you'd figure out what it was. And I said, look, would you be, because I had spotted this Boots pharmacy 4 doors down, I said, would you be comfortable to be seen going to Boots? No problem. So we walked in the door of Boots, and it was like a revelation, because we all know that Boots are so good at the signage on those offers, and the little gondola ends, and the ones in front of the shop. 4 doors down, and it was a revelation. So you can get so inward looking in your own business that sometimes either with the consumer or the competitors that you can just lose those nuggets that are out there. Sometimes it's great just to get out and go on tour. I'm always encouraging business to say, could you go away to Limerick or Cork City or Dublin or somewhere and take a day, do the busman's trip, you know, and it's amazing if you hit 4 or 5 places in your own sector, or maybe for some of you it might be an online couple of hours. It's amazing what you pick up as part of that. And I suppose here, because I have a section in with marketing coming up as the next piece, because tied in with our opening and saying that we could get dragged down into all the hurly-burly that's happening at the moment, and you could forget about all the good ideas that you have, and customers have to be stimulated. The only reason, unless somebody has a bad experience, the only reason they're not coming back to you is probably they've either forgotten about you or somebody else has nabbed them in the meantime. There's so many distractions now, which does mean that on the marketing front, you know, you have to be trying something all the time. Not all of these will work for you. And in fact, I'd say to you, if you didn't like marketing, is now the number 2 most effective marketing tool after social media. Because you're talking directly to people who have said, yes, you have my permission to get in touch, and you're stimulating them. Many decades ago, after I left, when Fermoy did his retail therapy TV program, we were the retail advisors, and there was a florist, I remember the lady's name, Kim from Liberty Florist, and I said, Kim, from all the people that are placing the orders, have you permission to be contacted? Yes, I have. I get permission from everyone. I said, your database, I have 300 people. I said, do you use it? No, I don't. Mother's Day was coming up. On the Monday of Mother's Day week, she sent this very simple text, and the wording of this was part of the reason for the success. Kim here from Liberty Florist. I'm just reminding you that next Sunday is Mother's Day. If I can help, give me a shout. Not alone did she double her business on the week, but people, this was a marketing initiative, people write and say, Kim, thank you so much for reminding me, because I've been running down to the garage on Sunday morning looking for withered flowers. I hope nobody owns a garage. But, you know, there was a marketing initiative that was so gently worded that people were coming back and saying, thanks for letting us know. So if you're not, and where this has really come to the fore, and email will be similar, was for the businesses that are online. This is the under the bonnet stuff now. You know, you've got to, there's no one having snail mail addresses. I was talking to the optician the optician in Nace, and she was telling me that she sends out her newsletter to a mailing list that she has, and it's deliberately a mailing list because so many people are bombarded with too many emails, and for her that works. You may or may not have the contact details, or it may be something that you want to build. Obviously there's a cost there. Look, we know about the importance of social, and there are plenty of supports through your local enterprise office who are running constant upskilling in social. We know the numbers, we know, you see, and you can have a view on these things and say, TikTok, I was sure TikTok is for the kids. It's no longer. You know, I'll tell you a story in a second, I won't go into it now, but it is now, businesses are beginning to come back. Everyone says, I'm not quite sure what I'm doing, but it's working. I'm still learning, because Facebook and Instagram, while they're great tools, and you've got to be doing the paid for stuff, because their strategy now is not to let you near anyone unless you pay them entirely to get it done. TikTok's the opposite. They need to build their numbers, so therefore they allow you massive access, and that's why people are getting into that space. And so on, up the line, and you know, we forget about things like YouTube. Also, I meet so many businesses, now they're 2021 figures, and they'll have altered slightly, but I meet so many businesses that say they poo-poo Facebook. Facebook is still a staggering number of followers. Now it depends on the age profile of your business, but I mean some business, like I met somebody last week and they had 16,000 people on Instagram. It's both a cafe and a product. 16,000 people on Instagram. They have no Facebook. Now after listening to the 10 others that were in the room, she was gone off to set up Facebook because she felt that actually I'm missing out. And I should be talking to those people every week. I'd be saying, look, it's a tool that still has value once, twice a year to say to people, I'm here. They will not, the busloads won't be rushing through the door when you put it out. It's not designed as that. It's designed as a statement to say, we're here and this is what we're doing. But it does have a complementary role on the back of other marketing as part of that publication, and Burker is like a principality because you have so many of your own radio stations and your own print stuff, and I guess probably Fermoy might even have its own kind of newsletters or parish bulletins or whatever they are, which might be part. This is Justin. Justin had a shop in Longford, and you know, I meet lots and lots of different people, and around 5 years ago in the RDS at the showcase we were doing a talk, and Justin was one of the speakers and said to me, it was 7 years prior I had met him, do you remember the day you said to me, now, I barely remember his face, not mind what I had said to him, but one of the things at that stage in the shop in Longford, men's fashion, quiet, not a lot happening, but he noticed that when he got double XLs, triple XLs, etc. in shirts or taller garments for taller people, they were selling. Regular stuff wasn't selling. And he set up kingsize.ie. It's now a website, and it's now 2 physical shops, and completely changed his model. Now the message here is to say PR. That's Sandra O'Connell in the Sunday Times, who is great for businesses and always looking for business stories. But at local level, I bet you now, without a lot of effort, you could be involved in something not costing you money. You all have a brilliant story to tell. Others will be interested in that. Your local enterprise office could probably give you someone that has a marketing or a PR head to do a session or two with to get you. Well, how do I do that, and how do I organise it? How do I tell you now? You promised everything under the sun, but you were told to talk. So who's this? You should know. She's a Cork woman. This is Miriam Mullins, and that's why I said I'd hold off on the TikTok story. Miriam is a TikToker, whatever that is. Miriam is a TikToker. What she does every day, she has a couple of 100,000 followers on her TikTok. And I was talking to a guy called Kieran Fitzpatrick recently, and Kieran has a product. He was lucky with Aldi, and they listed him for a year, and he's doing very well there. But he was at home one evening, and his Instagram started to go mad, and he's going, what's happening here? And these were all likes and follows and all of that. Miriam, of her own accord, he didn't even ask her, had gone into Aldi, and she had done literally a 20-second video. There was a shot of her going in the door of Aldi, taking it off the shelf, putting it in the oven. This is raw dough. You slice it like a black pudding, and you put it in the oven, and you have the most amazing cookies as part of that. So she showed the sequence, and yum at the end, he got 4,000 Instagram followers within 24 hours. All because Miriam Mullins bought it, ate it, and said, I like it. So the power here, I meet loads of business owners who say, look, the social is not really my thing. That's okay. But what you can't say if you have a business, and I'm denying the business, social media. So it mightn't be you driving it. It might be some daughter or the marketing graduate down the road once they know what they're doing. Don't assume just because they have 4,000 friends on Instagram that they know business social media. That's around Dublin. And actually, as a part of another retail excellence program, there are dozens of speakers that come in. There's 90 people on the program, so the speakers come in from all over the world. And Nick does one of the presentations, and he rates higher than any of the international speakers that come in to talk to the managers on that. And his style is, they're not his images, but his style is disruptive marketing. You're driving along the road, and there's a sign, or there's something on the verge, or he has a fleet of taxis. He also has a taxi business. He decided when the cars were at 400,000 kilometres to say, look, I'll get €500 scrap for them. It's of greater value as a mobile billboard. So he has all these ex-taxis parked in different locations that he moves around on a daily basis because his warehouses are at the back of industrial estates. He's working all the time to stay. You won't go out, you won't forget him. I suppose, and even the fact that you know him here. This is a lovely story in terms of how you involve staff in marketing. Builders, providers, and I saw all these photographs. That image is just representative. It's not the one that's in Northern Ireland. I saw these vans, plumbers and carpenters, and I said to the manager, what are they? And he said, I say to my staff, look, when you're on your own time, if you see a plumber or a carpenter, tradesperson van in your area, would you photograph it? So they bring in the photographs, he prints them and puts them up on his wall, and he rings them and says, hi, it's James here, I'm the manager of the local DIY store. I see your van around. Clearly he didn't. I see your van around. Is there any chance we could have a chat? Maybe come in and I'll show you, could we do business with you? Isn't that lovely? And he has a competition with the staff. If he converts anybody, he gives a €20 voucher or something. I just think it's a super story in terms of staying close. And this one is similar. This is the curtain fitting. The fitter will have gone off and done this with success. You find the busiest newsagent in the town, busiest friendly newsagent in the town, and you say, look, how would you feel if I came down on Saturday morning and Sunday morning, and if I popped my leaflet, don't tell the newspapers, if I popped my leaflet into the paper, would that be okay? Absolutely. And actually, I hear some of them even saying to the person, look, there's no need for you to come down, I'll throw them in for you, because I think they have to throw other bits in. You accept that 50% of the people will put their hand into the paper and put that into the recycling bin. You only need a tiny percentage, because that newsagent is probably selling 1,000 papers over the 2 days, or maybe 500 papers. Lovely, down and dirty, low-tech marketing, and works. And I see people trying it all the time. I suppose all of this is on a principle of something that was beaten into us in Simple Building, which was the bathtub principle. The water is your customer base. The problem with the bathtub is there are leaky holes at the side. Your competitors are nibbling away. They're distracting. They're taking your customers. So traditional wisdom says, turn on the hot tap, expensive marketing, talk to people that don't know you, pump a load of money into that and hope that we can keep the water level where we need to keep it. There's not enough businesses put a focus on saying, you're not going to block all the leaks. Could we slow down the leaks? Could we spend more time working with our existing customers? Have I got the database? Have I got the email addresses? Have I got the... Am I really talking to my existing customers enough? And how do I keep them stimulated? With loyalty schemes or whatever that might be in terms of, well, I don't like that one. But what are you going to go off and do within your own business in terms of marketing? Last thought, all these slides are interlinked on this last one. I remember being in the States in a supermarket group called Stu Leonard's and Stu the owner. It's a real kind of crazy supermarket. It was built around the milk dairy, and they put glass walls. They left the dairy, and so when you're doing your shopping, there's milk going into cartons and stuff at the far side of the glass wall. Really kind of funky place. And Stu the owner is standing with us on the shop floor. The door is down there. And he said, you see this customer coming towards us. I see that customer with $150,000 stamped on their forehead. Because he had calculated how much are they spending a week if they stayed living in his area for 20 years, which wouldn't be unreasonable. And he and his team could keep them coming in. Very, very interesting philosophy. So this guy spends 70 quid a week in whatever the business is, maybe it's small grocery store. We're not even saying he's coming for every week of the year. He go elsewhere sometimes. But if he stays living in the area, he's worth 73,000 to that business. Suddenly you start looking in a different way, and I'll just give you one other example. All of us here in the room are really three business people. It isn't one. There is you, the entrepreneur, full of the great ideas. There is you, the worker, rolling up your sleeves. And there is you, the manager, marketing, all of the stuff we've just talked about. And on day one, or whatever you moved into the role, you're very strong on the outside. You're going to close down every competitor, you're going to have the best social media, you're going to drive the sales upwards. And somewhere along the way, whether it's say 100 or 1,000 or whatever it is, suddenly you're saying you have more money and you say, last, we really haven't our social where we want to, we don't have a database built, and sales are not where we want. Because you look at it, you've got caught on this treadmill now that you're running like hell, and actually sometimes what you do is turn the speed up a bit faster so that you can just keep the business going. You have to get the balance, and the balance might be 1 hour a week in the stand back mode, just one. But if you get stuck in that middle piece, you're vulnerable, and you're vulnerable if the competitors start nibbling around the outside and taking your customers and distracting them. So I leave you with that message to say, look, this is a lot about you and you being in the right place and ignoring a lot of the crap that is going on at the moment. You have to be realistic, of course, and look at costs in your own business and stuff like that. But that could have the effect of pulling everybody down. Sometimes you have to fight back with that and say, hang on a minute, I'm not getting the hour a week. And that's all we're recommending, is 1 hour a week. Sometimes I meet a business owner who says, well, actually, on Monday I don't come in until 11, and it's not that they have a lie on, but they get their thinking done and they get their business sorted for them. Thank you so much. And maybe the way to get around that is to say, well, look, it's not me who's going to make that happen, but I recognise it's important. I need to get somebody else. It might be someone in an extended family, it might be one of your staff. So many businesses now tell me, the owner says, look, I was a disaster at social media. However, I'm now paying Mary 2 hours extra, and at home each week she schedules all the posts and does the photographs, all of that type of thing. So that's I think it's a case of separating the person from the business and saying, I personally am not good at this stuff, but I recognise it has to be done, and then either harness a member of staff or pay another to help with that. Anybody else want to come in with a question?
There's one thing that's, in this age of mass media.
You have your own story. Nobody else has it. And you've got to be telling that. People have to understand. You could be the best at sourcing, you could be going off to shows or looking at distributors, but people mightn't quite get it. If they come in, they get it. But other people might look at your... One of the ones we did with Fergal's Retail Therapy was a place called Boyle's. Boyle's in Athlone. What was he? Boyle, I think. Department store. And I remember we did a focus group, so we had a monitor in one room and we had a camera in where the customers was. And this 22-year-old guy said, I know they have great suits and stuff in here, but he said, I actually get on the bus and I go to Dublin. I don't feel it's the type of place I should be coming into, you know. So they weren't portraying out what it was that they were doing, and they were relevant, and they probably had a bigger selection than he would get in Dublin. Anybody else want to come in there with it?
Maintain continuity of supply. We want to maintain them as a customer. If things get more difficult over the next year or 2 years, what can we do together in collaboration to make sure that we're both in business in together? Same thing, building the networks and networking. This is a time to start building those bridges, come out of the business. That 45 minutes a week to get proactive from outside. James mentioned the one, direct online, direct marketing. Services marketing. In anything that you're doing, you can provide the service element. What we call the J&D. Just noticeably different. Just by the way you answer the phone, the way you make the phone call, you can do the services marketing no matter what you're selling, no matter what you're doing. The human element piece, the relationship, the trust is the services piece. And if you enhance the services piece, and I would celebrate the relationship of your top 10 suppliers. I'd bring them and let them know that we're buying X, Y, and Z from you. I need to have this connection. We're going to get tight in the cash, which by the way, we're also seeing in our most recent research that the days of payment SME and SME were out now to the 90 days. We track this all of the time. It's not 30, it's not 60, there's a significant, about 20% down in the 90 days, which is a key indicator that there's a tightening around the marketplace, people keeping cash flow. High tech, certainly, we have the slide at the end, high spec, high tech, high touch. So no matter what you're doing, you have to move in the high tech, and I have a slide at the end. Hugely important in times like this, when there's crisis, is who do we trust? Ethical behaviour. We do with people that we trust and we know and we like. And that comes out of the comparison at the moment in the UK. It's not so much about politics, it's the whole trust element is gone. It's finished. And the ethical framework is gone. Once that's gone, there is no trust, it's finished. They just have to decide what they're going to leave the stage, because when you lose that, you lose everything. So ethical behaviour sounds old-fashioned, but people who do things in the right way is the right way to do it. Reputation is everything.
Thank you so much for watching. Even next time, right back at this particular channel.